Do you think if Zoran went on Bill Maher's broadcast right now, Andrew Cuomo would be like, well, you know, look at him. He's going on Bill Maher. He loves 9/11. Bill Maher loves 9/11. Time to cancel Zoran and Bill Maher. No, that wouldn't stick in the same way. Of course not. Obviously, who you are, what your background is, and what you represent, what your worldview is, obviously plays a big role in the audience reception to this sort of thing. So we're going to talk about Graham Platner, because while the Reddit stuff was like floating around, there were people on the ground doing polls on the main race. And it turns out Mainers saw this dude. Obviously, they don't give a shit about the veteran status. As a matter of fact, they like that, just so you guys have a better understanding of this stuff. And part of the reason why I was looking at the situation and saying, like, let's wait and see. Let's see the bigger picture here, like how liberals react to it, was for this reason, okay? Because it turns out, as I told you, liberals are like, I don't give a what anybody's done, okay? I don't care about anything at all, like not even a little bit. And I think this is one of those unique moments where, like, your own personal assessment and my own personal assessment about Graham Platner's viability is seemingly utterly irrelevant. Now, of course, these polls might actually be too early, because the impact of the Nazi tattoo most likely was not seen in the situation. But the new polls that have come out between 10/16 and 10/21, right, from the main Senate Democratic primary show Graham Platner at 58% and Janet Mills at 24%. Couple things to take note of here is that white dude is OP. White dude with a populist slant, like a left populist slant, is, I think, one of the most OP, overpowered tools in the Democratic Party's tool belt. Even if they straight up have a prominent Nazi tattoo. Part of the reason why no one cares, I think, is because they just don't care. They think like, oh, everyone has a Nazi stage. Like, everyone has a Nazi phase. It's like, well, not everybody, okay? And the other reason why is because I think a lot of Americans are just like oblivious. A lot of Americans are oblivious to Nazi tattoos, just as they are oblivious to, you know, what it means if you have done 4 tours / worked for BlackRock in 2018. Now, like I said, this poll was conducted before Tattoogate. Having said that, this was his town hall last night.
Mainstream media or like legacy media, where they haven't talked about you before at all, but now, I mean, I don't want to make a connection, but after Janet Mills started running, you know, and it's kind of been, you know, without saying, I feel like I don't need to say anything. Everyone knows what I mean, but your thoughts?
I'm not going to minimize what has come out.
Did I say BlackRock? No, I Blackwater. Oh, did he say BlackRock?
I am not today who I always have been.
Every time he does this, by the way, I think, did I say BlackRock? Sorry, I meant Blackwater. Every time he does this, I think there are like probably 25 new white people that go, that's my guy. And they're not necessarily 25 white people that are like right wing, right? But there are at least 25 white people that have done similar things, maybe not to the same degree, of course. Very unique background when you think about it. Not many people have done multiple tours, active duty, and then joined Blackwater in 2018. That's not a normal thing at all. But I think overall, the package of saying, hey, that's the old me. When I'm up, that's the real me. Like that is very appealing for a lot of people. They love the redemption archetype, even if this is a little bit all over the place. This is something that maybe not for Graham Platner, but for many other candidates that I have covered in the past, has plagued their races. And the Democrats, the voters, and their inability to overcome people's like trials and tribulations in the past. I'm not talking about Graham Platner. I'm talking about previous progressive candidates that have been destroyed by the establishment and by centrists for having a blemished record. This was a very effective method from the establishment Democrats against both Bernie Sanders or numerous other figures that they considered to be potentially a threat, right? And I think a lot of people, the voters, came to a conclusion that it does not matter what someone's background is. We have to play ball, and we have to be dirty, and we have to be shameless in the way that Republicans are as well, as long as someone is like seemingly empathetic now. Now, if you have questions about the authenticity of Graham Platner's real change or whatever, or if you have questions about his legacy, his service, what he's done, does he feel disdain? Those are all super valid. Okay? 100%. I have those questions as well. If you say, oh, this is going to be like a John Fetterman situation, I don't think it's going to be like a John Fetterman situation. I think it's more so going to be, it's going to be more like a Tulsi Gabbard situation at worst, right? Having said that, unfortunately, Hasan, with this situation, you're going to have to say, I'm not talking about Graham Platner every 5 seconds in order to make people get on board with his take. Everyone's memory is goldfish level. I mean, look, people, it's not a secret that a lot of people are actively trying to bastardize whatever takes I have to make it seem as though I'm, anti-black, anti-women, anti-this, anti-that, pro-dog abuse. It doesn't matter. I think people that tune in here for this broadcast have the capacity to understand what I'm about, okay? But it ironically even like dovetails into the conversation that I'm speaking of right now. This notion that like the notion that the faulty expectations that people have and how easily duped they are, not in the case of Graham Platner, because Graham Platner has a long track record of very, very real red flags that are irredeemable even by my standards. Okay, and I feel like I'm very open-minded to people that demonstrate their capacity to change. So I think you're maybe overweighting voters' attitudes changing here. Whether these things have happened to anyone who isn't a cishet Christian white dude, any kind of smear campaign sticks way more. Brother or sister or the emperor, trust me, I know. Okay? I said, in reference to blowback, America deserved 9/11 in 2019. Andrew Cuomo is currently running for mayor and still trying to associate both Zohran Mamdani and myself with wanting 9/11 to happen. Do you think that kind of argument would stick against anybody else? I know. And I'm whitest and it still sticks. I know. I experience it on a daily fucking basis. What are we talking about? Bill Maher, literally 2 weeks after 9/11, said those attackers were brave. Okay? Do you think if Zohran went on Bill Maher's broadcast right now, Andrew Cuomo would be like, well, look at him. He's going on Bill Maher. He loves 9/11. Bill Maher loves 9/11. Time to cancel Zohran and Bill Maher. No, that wouldn't stick in the same way. Of course not. Obviously, who you are, what your background is, and what you represent, what your worldview is, obviously plays a big role in the audience reception to this sort of thing. In any case, what I was saying is there is an attitude overall from the Democratic Party, I think, the base of voters, I think, to just go, nah, we can't be playing these games no longer. And I think that is overall a healthy attitude to have, especially because for the first time ever, the broad majority of the Democrat base of support, the masses, the liberal masses, are actually demonstrating that shamelessness or lack of interest in critically examining a candidate for a left flank candidate, as opposed to in the past, they only exclusively did that for the likes of Hillary Clinton and the likes of whatever the establishment centrist candidates were. This is not an assessment on whether or not Graham Platner is going to be a fucking woke force of progress. Only time will tell, okay? And it's perfectly understandable why people might not think that is going to be the case, of course. But this is not even necessarily about Platner himself. This is more so about the audience reception. And I think it's incredibly healthy for the base attitude to shift in this direction where they go, no, this guy represents things that I want. I don't give a shit what you say about his background. Okay? Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying? Is pure white supremacy libs love a white man redemption story? Absolutely. I think that plays a major role in this, guys. There are candidates that have an infallible track record, a perfectly clear track record that I have defended, that I have stood next to and will continue to promote, even if I don't fully agree with them. Like Abdul El Sayed is a great example of this. Same with Zohran Mamdani. I have numbers on the board. I myself am also often the recipient of additional scrutiny as a consequence of my background and what I represent and what I say. So you don't have to tell me this. I've been getting called a fucking terrorist for the past 2 years, and it's never going to go away due to my position on Israel. It's a little different when it's a corked up white boy saying it, though. It is an OP. It's certainly OP. The major issue we are going to face from this is Nazis are going to be able to use this to play off their tattoos and beliefs. Dangerous times, man. I don't fully agree with that either. And the reason why I don't fully agree with that is because if he was running as a Republican, I think the broad reception would be very different. And the evidence there is that there are plenty of fucking out and about neo-Nazis that are already in positions of power. Look at fucking Stephen Miller. And not only that, but also there are neo-Nazis that are outed as neo-Nazis that actually have their career trajectory destroyed. Like the one Italian guy, you know? A Nazi tattoo is quirky. No, I'm not saying that. Please stop. Don't do this. Please stop putting words in my mouth. I think by and large, the like I think people on the left, people on the Democratic Party's base of support are not doing this person has a bad track record, so we can't have him. We can't have him be the candidate. Seemingly, that's what the voters are saying.
I used to hold different opinions. I used to use different language. I said things and believed things that today I find abhorrent. I also grew. I met new people. I learned of other people's experiences. I realized that my experiences were my own, and they
go to 1840. This is you 5 years ago saying the exact same thing about veterans that you did over the past few days.
Tracking funds.
Okay,
the Bolsheviks
dude.
simply weren't in a position to do just officers.
Hey, tankies in the chat, specifically anarchists, who say every veteran is a piece of shit across the board, blah, 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 all this stuff. Just remember that, okay? I know that, like, vehement anti-imperialist tankies or anarchists. No, not anarchist tankies. Shut up. I know that there's a distinction. Anarchists or tankies, totally two separate, oh my fucking God, totally two separate categories, but oftentimes two sides of the same fucking coin when it comes to certain issues. Love, and I mean absolutely love, playing into the leftist meme of like, leftists love to spit on veterans. This is an important thing to recognize and remember. That's all I'm saying. Both tankies and anarchists, okay? Not anarcho-tankies, which is not a thing. It's oxymoronic.
In October, workers and
Wait, was this yesterday's stream? Yeah, yesterday. Many, many yesterdays ago. August 20th, 2020, okay? 5 years worth of yesterdays. You can always find a position that I've maintained since day one on any given Sunday, okay? Randomly fucking reacting to a YouTube video or some shit like that. You can also find people still trying to desperately misunderstand what I'm saying, okay? The things that I talk about, whether it be issues that pertain to like the emancipatory struggle for Palestinians, the emancipatory struggle for black people in the Western world, like whether it be addressing takes about misogyny and patriarchal constructs that we exist under, all of this stuff, or an empathy first politics, the capacity for redemption for people, all of that I've been saying since day one. No matter how hard people try to fucking act as though, oh, this 10-second moment actually clearly illustrates what his true opinions are. He must be a grifter. I've been called a grifter for the past fucking 10 years of my career, okay? And my positions have not shifted unless there's new evidence that that I have gotten that shows me that I was wrong on something, and in which case I will openly admit it and I'll move on, even though people never let you live that down, okay? I've been here. I've been doing this for years and years in spite of the fucking hate watchers. Do you understand? Do you understand how this works? Do you get it now? And once again, Graham Platner did not exist at that point. So what the fuck was I talking about? You know? A lot of the conversations that I've had over the past couple of days have made people feel like I'm defending Graham Platner or talking about Graham Platner in particular. I'm not. There is an attitude amongst the left that that talks about there is an attitude amongst the left that automatically looks at any veteran and goes, "No, fuck that. That's irredeemable. We can't behave like that." And this is once again not about Graham Platner at all. We'll never know who you were talking about. No, I was talking about like Tsarist forces that ended up joining the Red Army. Okay, but regardless of how we feel in this community about Graham Platner, due to his experiences, both as a combat vet, machine gunner, and how he has communicated his perspective or what he feels was fucked up about it. Is it centered around the victims of his actions, or is it just simply centered around himself and others like him being a victim? Is this something that he's saying specifically because he wants to win the election and he can't come across as like super anti-military or whatever? Does it correspond to his private moments and what he has said in private to other people, like on fucking subreddits and whatnot? These are all important factors to consider, and I don't think Graham Platner has done a decent job of addressing any of that stuff. But I also suspect that in the interest of winning the race in Maine, I don't think they give a shit about us at all. They don't. Our concerns are not the concerns of the masses. Your concerns might be coming from a moral place, but the reality of the matter is, for the overwhelming majority of people, this is not even a point of contention. Not a single person has brought up the fact that he actually worked for Blackwater, which I think is the highest order of priority in terms of red flags goes. Okay, that was the first thing I said, like beyond the machine gunner active duty service. Okay, but ultimately, the people are not reacting in the way that many people in this community are, and that's understandable. So we have to recognize why that is the case. Is it better to wage a war against all veterans and try to convince people in the margins that we are going to stake the left reputation on saying all veterans of imperial wars are bloodthirsty animals that must be punished criminally? Or is it better to recognize at this point you're doing more harm than good to the left? You need to walk away, bro. True. You're right.
It colored my opinions and where I was. And that the more open I could be to listening to other people's stories, the more open I was willing to be to extend compassion and empathy to others, the more I realized that many of those stories and beliefs that I had were wrong. And I changed them. And it was through that journey that I became who I am today. And I will say this, I am ashamed of things I once said, but I am not ashamed of who I am today. The establishment is spooked. And I'll say this, if they thought that this was going to scare me off, if they thought that ripping my life to pieces, trying to destroy it, was going to make me think that I shouldn't undertake this project, they clearly have not spent a lot of time around Marines.
Show them the video of the one ex-military guy on the soapbox. Yeah, it's Mike Prisoner, who is a friend of the show. What is this? Mao Zedong. There are some militarists who say we are not interested in politics, but only in the profession of the arms. It is vital that these simple-minded militarists be made to realize the relationship that exists between politics and military affairs. Military action is a method used to attain a political goal. While military affairs and political affairs are not identical, it is impossible to isolate one from the other. I mean, he wasn't. This is an entirely different. Did you just like Google search militarism in like quotations by the great chairman? It's not relevant to this conversation, to this discussion. Anyway, Senate candidate Graham Platner addressed controversies at town hall. We already watched a piece of that.
Graham Platner has been in the headlines a lot in the last 2 weeks. Platner, a Democrat, addressed many of those issues at a town hall held in Ogunquit just last night. News Center Maine's Alex Haskell was there.
Before a packed crowd in
Mao's not talking about. Okay, first of all, if we're going to talk about Mao Zedong, okay, one of his greatest efforts was unironically to convert Kuomintang for really work to fight alongside the people's liberation. Okay, so the notion that like Mao Zedong was not open-minded to fucking former veterans who had done heinous fucking crimes is ridiculous. Don't even bring this shit up. Okay, obviously this is not what we're talking about here. So please just shut the fuck up. Oh my God, Jesus Christ, dude. He literally looked at the dispossessed masses and the peasants that played a role in the KMT forces that like fucking burnt socialists alive and was like, yeah, look, if you're gonna fucking fight alongside me, then yeah, you're good.